Did you know that in CS2, armor does not protect legs? However, shooting someone in the legs will result only dealing 75% of your weapon's damage. Weapon inaccuracy and weapon spread inaccuracy are greatly reduced while crouching. This game mechanic is especially important to understand when using the Deagle. Even though the Deagle has a higher weapon accuracy than most guns, while standing, each shot will take several seconds to reset its accuracy back to normal. However, while crouching, this time is significantly shortened. This mechanic is the same reason why you constantly see pro players crouch when they start shooting. Molotov and incendiary grenades can stack damage. What that means is, if you and your teammate throw a Molotov at the same location, the player burning will take twice as much damage per tick than they normally would. With that said, however, it's probably best to not stack Molotovs. Grenades and flashbangs can cause a ringing effect on the enemy, which could open up a window for you or your teammates to push someone without them getting any audio cue that you're swinging. This next tip is focused on reframing your approach to Counter-Strike as a whole. During a coaching session I had a long time ago with Polo, he mentioned the importance of information in CS. It took me a long time to really internalize what he was saying, and one thing that helped me was drawing a connection between how CS works and chess. In Counter-Strike, your opponent's location, weapons, and utility are all unknown until they're revealed. This is the obvious truth, but if you reframe how you see players, their weapons, and utility as pieces on a chessboard, the similarities become undeniable. The only problem is that all these things in CS are unknown, until they aren't. But once we discover this information, we can make accurate assessments on when to reposition, make trades, and set traps. Understanding this concept has absolutely transformed how I approach CS and has defined the importance of information in my matches. The too long didn't listen of all that is, information is important. So keeping an eye on your minimap, observing what the enemy team is telling you, and listening to what your teammates are saying, if they're saying anything at all, are all vital when it comes to winning and improving. Before we get into our next tip, a quick word from today's sponsor, SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a fully automated CS2 trading site. SkinsMonkey provides an instant way to get new skins. Along with that, they have a 24/7 live chat support, so if you run into any problems, they'll be right there to help you. If you're interested in finding a specific skin, you can use their search tool. Better yet, if you're not sure what skin you're looking for, you can use their filter tool to find exactly what you're looking for. If you use my promo code RIDEORDIE, you can earn up to $5 for free. Trade up $100 to make the most of it. Now, if you don't want to trade your skins but you'd rather buy, SkinsMonkey is now offering a 30% deposit bonus. And if you use my promo code RIDEORDIE, you'll receive an additional 5%. Remember, use code RIDEORDIE to get up to $5 for free and claim your 35% deposit bonus. Thank you SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. Smokes will last approximately 18 seconds. You can time when things need to be re-smoked by taking note of when the initial smoke bloomed, and then make sure you re-smoke about 16 seconds later. You can see exactly how much money you'll have next round if you open up the buy menu and take a look in the top right corner. Use this to manage your money. When hit by an enemy grenade, it may appear that the explosion effect on a player creates a noise, but that isn't the case. You can test this out in your own matches, but regardless of the distance away from the player, you won't hear anything. Crosshair placement should change based on the weapon you're using and the weapon your opponents are using. What I mean by this is, on pistol round and CT, your crosshair should be a little further away from an angle to compensate for the movement speed the T's will swing with. And when you're opping, you should be aiming for center mass of the enemy player model. Also, while using the Deagle, at least from my experience, moving your crosshair further away from an angle has resulted in me getting far more one-taps. This works really well against T's that I know have MAC 10s and want to run me down. Speaking of the Deagle, you should be practicing with this gun every day. The key difference I see from lower levels of play in 2500 ELO on Faceit is people's ability to win eco rounds with the Deagle. If you ever spend time watching demos of pro players and their pugs, this will be a common thing that you'll see. Of course, hitting nice shots with the Deagle is easier said than done, but after some time practicing with the gun and focusing on your crosshair placement and counter strafing, not only will you become a better Deagle player, but also a better player overall. While we're on the topic of practicing, I want to share my personal opinion on how to get better at Counter-Strike as fast as possible. The only reason why I always mention this is because it truly does work, and that is deathmatching. I've mentioned this in other videos, but I seriously did spend several hours a week DMing, and the improvement I experienced after the fact is undeniable. But before you go off and start DMing, there are a few things that you should consider. First, completely disregard your KD. Your main focus should be on your crosshair placement and your counter strafing. Second, if you're more of an intermediate player, then I strongly recommend using community DM servers. I left a link down below of a few that I personally enjoy. And third, don't be discouraged when you get shot in the back. It'll happen. Put on some music and remind yourself that your goal is to improve. The next tip I want to share is everything you can do while defusing a bomb. If you cook a grenade prior to defusal, you can release it while you're defusing. Doing this can sometimes trick the enemy to think that you're not sticking. You can also change fire rate, scope in and out, drop weapons, reload, and even look as far as 90 degrees away from the bomb. This is super useful, especially if you need to hold an angle that you think the T's are going to swing you from. Also, if you smoke the bomb and you're having a hard time finding it, you can just hold down your defuse key and look around to where you think it is. Once you find it, the defuse will automatically begin. While we're on the topic of smoking the bomb, smoke the bomb. During retakes, if you have a smoke, this can completely change the outcome of the round. Even players that are level 10 can sometimes struggle to hit an enemy that's diffusing inside of a smoke. The next tip will probably only work in lower elos, but something that I used to do while I was climbing to level 10 was to throw somewhat of a decoy smoke to the other side of the map. If you didn't know, smokes can be heard globally on the map, and if you're wanting to trick your opponent, sometimes just throwing a random smoke to the other side of the map will create the illusion of you planting on another site. Again, this began to not really work for me as I climbed into higher elo, but it's worth a shot if you're in a 2v1 or a 1v1 scenario. What's even better than fake smokes are real smokes. Spend some time learning at least 2 important lineups on each map. And while you're doing this, pick a map that you want to improve on and spend some serious time learning new plays and how to create advantages. The best way to approach this is to either watch map guides on YouTube or to watch demos of pro players and their pugs. Every play that I make, there's a good chance that I learn it from another player or from an Austin CS short. Something similar to learning traditional lineups is also learning lurk smokes. If you're primarily a solo queue player like myself, lurk smokes will be extremely useful. So if you don't know any, I implore you to go on YouTube and find a few, and then start trying to use them in your matches. Okay, last thing about utility. It's important that you condition the enemy during your matches. An example of this is how I default on T-side Mirage. What I really like doing is making the cat and B anchor feel very uncomfortable by taking early round apps control. How I usually do this is by throwing a Molotov on van, lurk smoke on balcony, and then throwing a flash out of the window. Even if I don't push the smoke, I always put some sort of presence on that side of the map to help create easier openings for my teammates mid and A. What a play similar to this will also do is keep them guessing on whether you're actually using the lurk smoke or not. So mixing and actually using the lurk smoke is key to finding success with conditioning. There are other forms of conditioning like throwing the same HE lineup each round or always molotoving a choke point. Whatever it is, be sure to take advantage of what the enemy thinks you're going to be doing. For tip number 18, I have never blame your teammates. I mean this even in scenarios when they're absolutely the reason for a lost round or game. And the reason why I say this is that if you do blame them too much, it'll become impossible to accept accountability for your own performance and therefore impossible to improve. Of course, there's going to be griefers in your games, but even in those games, there are things that you could have done better, even if it wouldn't have resulted in a win. Improving in CS isn't about winning, it's about improving. So don't waste games blaming others. I'm sure you've heard the term pros don't fake. Well, surprise, this is total BS. No, but seriously, the vast majority of the time, players will just tap the defuse and hold the angle they assume you're at. What I tend to do in some post plans is to not peek after the bomb has been tapped. Of course, there are going to be rounds where you get defused on and your team flames you, but this is very few and very far between. Something a coach told me before was to start visualizing the enemy. This helps significantly boost my elo and my ability to win fights. Basically what this means is exactly what it sounds like. When you peek or when you think you're about to get peeked, it's important to visualize what it'll look like. What this will prevent you from doing is getting nervous when someone does peek you and make you more ready to win a gunfight. For a long time, I would feel almost surprised that I spotted an enemy. But once I began doing this, I started to win more gunfights and also had a much easier time entering sites. This last tip is something that was also mentioned to me by another coach, and that is understanding the importance of tracking. I think it's a huge misconception that tracking is useless in Counter-Strike. If you went over your games, you'd see just how often that you're tracking a target. Unless your headshot percentage is 99% and you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, then I seriously suggest that you take some time to practice tracking. The way I got better at this was using aimbots. I would turn bot strafing to 5, drop the walls, and spend time tracking these bots while they made long strafes. Once I was confident I'd hit my shot, I would shoot in short bursts, similar to how I actually would in game. There are also a bunch of good exercises on Aim Labs and Kovacs, and I'm sure all of those would help, but for myself, I did most of my aim training in game. Thanks for watching my 21 tips that will hopefully help you improve at CS. Before I end the video, I want to quickly thank SkinsMonkey for sponsoring the channel. If you want to help support the channel while you trade skins, be sure to use code RIDEORDIE. Also, all the names you see scrolling by are all the Ride or Die YouTube members who hit the join button below. We're well over 100 members now, and I can't begin to describe how grateful I am. Each member that joins gets me one step closer to making YouTube my full-time job, so seriously, thank you. Also, last thing, if you're looking for a Discord community to join, be sure to check out the Ride or Die Discord. There we have LFG channels, giveaways, and that's where we also host our 10 mins. Anyways, that's all I got. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with my content, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. Thanks for watching.